virtual event. This event is made possible, and we'd like to start off by thanking the foreign liaison officers, many of whom are in the room, who have helped us line up a great day of discussions about the operational environment, about the future, about different perspectives, as we and really coming from reaching out to people that we don't have regular contact with. So this is a great opportunity to challenge the assumptions that we might have, to look at where we have common ideas, to look for the nuances within those ideas, and as a way to look for blind spots for the U.S. Army and what we do with our operational environment. So today's virtual event, as you're out there across this virtual community that we've connected to, which is an international one this morning, there are several ways that you can connect. So if you're at the watch page this morning, if you see on that page, you have links to bios, you have links to the APAN site, All Partners Access Network, which will allow you to look at the slides that will be used later today. You also have the ability to watch the Twitter feed as we go through it. We have somebody live tweeting the event. Even if you don't have Twitter, it's not a problem. You can watch all of that activity. We have several different presentation types today. First of all, we have people that will be presenting from here at Fort Eustis. We have people that will be presenting audio only. We have one presenter that's audio only, and we have the other presenters coming in on Skype, but for you in the virtual community, you will see that streamed at the TRADOC watch page that you're on currently. To interact with the presenters, there are several ways you can ask questions. If you're in this room and when questions open, if you move to my right and go to the tape, you can ask your questions at the microphone. We ask that you ask them from the microphone because that allows anybody that's streaming or the Skype presenters to be able to hear your questions. So you need to get up and move to the microphone. If you're in the virtual community and you're at our chat room at the TRADOC watch page, if you're watching this, you can go down and see the chat room. You can log on as a guest. You can ask that question there. That chat room is moderated, and you can have a separate conversation parallel of what's going on. If you're on Twitter, and this will be tweeted out as well, you can ask questions using that social media device, and we'll ask those questions as we go forward. So lots of ways to plug in today on the virtual community. So the global perspectives in the operational environment, what is this about? Well, this isn't a one-off event. What we did is last year we've done Mad Scientists for several years, and we had some concerns about hearing the same thing over and over and over again. And we had discussed this, and we were like, are we developing a blind spot? Even as we reach out to academia and industry, many times we hear a common theme about the future. So we said, let's broaden our aperture, and we have several events over the next 3 months to help us do that. Here on the slide, you'll see we have this event. We have a survey. So the survey, and I'll talk a little bit more in a few minutes, and I have some early results for everyone. The survey link, you can hit at the TRADOC watch page. If you're streaming this, you can hit it there. You can also go to the MadSci lab, and you can do the survey there. I'd ask that you do the survey as we move forward. We have some William & Mary students in here on the 21st. We'll be streaming this live. These are very bright young people. We don't get a chance to interact with Generation Z that much, but we have some of the brightest of Generation Z that are researching topics that are interesting to us: disruptive technologies, ethics, how this fits into the conflict, and we're running 2 panels to hear from that younger demographic. We have a writing contest ongoing. You can go to the MadSci lab right now, and you can look at that. It's open until March, so plenty of time to participate in this broadening of our aperture in that manner. And then we've started a podcast, which you might want to subscribe to, where we're going out and finding people that think differently than us and bringing that to this community. So the MadSci Lab, this is ground zero of everything Mad Scientist. If you want to share your ideas, if you want to stay connected to events, if you want to do the survey I just talked about, any of these things, you need to go here today and subscribe to this site. You'll get 2 emails a week from it. You'll have some interesting writing about the future, and you'll have all the ways to contribute and share your ideas. So go and hit this site now. The survey I talked about. I wanted to have the opportunity today to give some results on the survey, really to amp the numbers up. I think the survey here, we said we had 366 respondents. We're a little over 500 now. The survey will be open through February as we capture this. All results of the survey will be published at the MadSci Lab in a series of pieces that talks about where we're alike, where we're different, the nuances, all the things we're going to talk about today of what we learned through the survey. So far, just to highlight a few things, we're about 25% international. If you're in the international community, I want to up this number. For the liaison officers in the room, I want you to push this to your countries harder. If you're connected internationally, I want you to share this with your networks. It doesn't have to be military. Share it with your academic connections, your industry connections. I'd love to try to get to at least a 50-50 here to try to really broaden our aperture, but it's a good first start. You see also we have our number one, about a little over 25% is military. That's great. There's a lot of different opinions in the military, but let's try to push it out across academia. And then also education. There's also a question on age. We want to try to push it to the millennial and Gen Zs as well. So we really want to broaden the aperture. Share this. This is the demographics today of the survey. What are we learning? First of all, drivers of change. So 3 of these 4 are very common drivers of change. And if you go look at the Changing Character of Warfare document, which is the unclassified discussion of how we see the future, if you go look at that, you'll see the technologies, big data, artificial intelligence, those are talked about and how that impacts across from here to 2050. If you have not seen that document, go to the MadSci Lab on the right side. You'll see the link and you'll see a video as well to that. One of the things here, number 3, climate change and resource competition. This is probably one of the places where we're underrepresented in how we talk about the operational environment. At the MadSci Lab, we have 3 very good articles written on this topic, which really shows this idea of broadening our aperture. The first one is written by Frank Prosh. He's a consultant to Department of Defense. He wrote something on pink flamingos and black swans in the Arctic. Go take a look at it. We also have had an article written by a young William & Mary student on climate change, the impacts of climate change. She talks about emerging conflict zones like the Arctic and expanding Sahel, impacts on soldiers, disease vectors, loss of training days, and multiple pieces like this of how the implications specifically at the tactical and operational level for climate change. You can go take a look at that. And then one of our flows here, Lieutenant Colonel Pierpont, somewhere in the room, an Australian officer has written a very good article on climate change. The MadSci Lab is all about outside perspective. So if you're an international audience, feel free to come in and write for the lab. But this is a place we're going to look as this goes forward. Is this somewhere that we need to take a harder look? So we've also asked the question, what are we missing? And this is just some of the, right now there are 500 people that responded, so there are lots of responses. So we just rapidly went through and thought of some things that we thought were interesting. The first one, solar system competition. So a big part of this is an example of a space congestion because of the competition. So interesting enough, MIT put out yesterday that there is a good chance of a satellite collision today over the United States at 6:38 p.m. It's in the higher part of low Earth orbit. It's a NASA satellite, and the other satellite, I don't know who owns it, but they describe it. And they're going within 100 feet of each other. So Kessler effect is one of the things that we've heard at our conferences, Dr. Marie Bajah, that you could lose a portion of space for a period of time because of an accident. And what would the military implications be of that? So that's just one example of things that we might be missing. You'll see kind of a piece, privatization of military force. We've seen this across the peer competitors using contractors to do security services. But this is the idea of corporations. We've seen this with old companies, but actually an increasing aspect of the operational environment. So you'll see a list of things. And then one of the things is weaponization of weather, and weaponization of climate change. Also, black swans and pink flamingos. You'll see some different ones here. The black swans are always a little crazy, but what we're looking for the ideas that we need to pull. Many times the black swans are actually pink flamingos. What a pink flamingo is something that we actually know is going to happen. It's just our military bureaucracies have not moved in that direction yet, or the government bureaucracies or whatever. So a lot of these black swans, I would actually move over to pink flamingos. So just to highlight a couple of pieces, we talked about rapid transportation via low Earth orbit capabilities. We've also talked about hypersonic movement of equipment and personnel in the future to see if we can defeat the tyranny of distance. So that's one of the ideas that's starting to emerge off of this. And some other challenges, what potentially are the new ideologies, neo-Luddites, for example. I think our UK officers should love the idea of neo-Luddites, since the Luddites was a movement in the industrial age out of the UK. So I just want to share some initial results and encourage everybody to go take the survey and share your ideas, and then look forward to starting in March a series of articles being written on all the different aspects of this survey. Share it broadly, please. What are we also doing? I talked about the podcast. This is the Convergence. We had the premiere episode last week, and that one, or 2 weeks ago, that was Dr. Sean McFate. He presented at a previous conference. He talks about a new way of warfare. It's heavily based on influence operations and the rules of this new warfare. It's a lot different than how we've described the operational environment. I'd encourage you to listen to it as we go forward. If you have ideas on people we should be talking to which have differing ideas, share those. So that is kicking us off in today's conference. Opening remarks today will be provided by Brigadier General Brown, who is the Deputy Director of the Futures and Concepts Center, United States Army Futures Command. Previous to that, he was assigned as the Deputy Command General for Operations, 1st Cavalry Division. General Brown is an artillery officer. He has served at every rank he has commanded at every rank in the Army that you can command at. He has served in every place the United States Army has operated since his time in service. So, General Brown.